Final score here from Ross State Stadium, it was 34-10. Ohio State is victorious in one of the most ho-hum Ohio State performances you will see this year. Workman-like, just get the job done and get out of here. Rotational, however you want to describe it, Mick Walker, Spencer Holbrook, it's over, and that's basically what you can say. The Buckeyes were without a couple of different starters. They were rotating guys in. Arvell Reese didn't play the first defensive drive. Ian Moore started at right tackle. You had different combinations on the offensive line. No Carnell Tate in this game, and yet the Buckeyes still look like the number one team in the country without really, putting their best foot forward. I thought it was very workmanlike today. What's your first thoughts on this game?
Yeah, they just kind of experimented with things. What we saw, I think we saw Isaiah West and Bo Jackson play in the first quarter. We saw Bryson Rogers, Mylan Graham, both couple of right tackles, couple of right guards, flip over defense. Obviously, I don't think Ohio State would want to have this situation where they're having to deal with guys being hurt. But I imagine there's a deep down part of Ryan Day and this coaching staff where it's nice to be able to see Ian Moore get an actual start, Gabe Van Sickle get some real reps, Bryson Rogers and Mylan Graham get some situations where you have to count on them, and they come through a little bit every now and then. So I imagine that was nice.
Yeah, and then Edric Houston starts in place of Tyler Malone. Actually, he's probably the only guy we didn't hear about post-game. Ryan Day talking a little bit about some of the different guys that were out. Tyler Malone didn't come up, but Edric started in there. Riley Pettijohn was on the field for the first snaps of the game. He might have even got credited with a start in this game. It was just one of these games that you have to get through in the Big Ten. It's November football. It's a little chilly out here. It was BYOJ, bring your own juice into Ross State Stadium. It wasn't a very...
And the Ohio State fans came through when Ohio State took the field.
But as far as the energy overall in the stadium, it was more of a bring your own juice kind of afternoon. And the Buckeyes, I guess, did that because it was 3-0 Purdue almost to the end of the first quarter. Or maybe it was the end of the first quarter. It was a slow start for this team, but at the same time, it never felt like they were going to lose this game. They were in control the entire time. Purdue had less than 200 total yards of offense, and 75 of that came on the final drive of the game when Ohio State had an entire cavalcade of backups in. So it was a dominant, smothering performance from this football team. And the best way that I can describe it, Mick, is it felt like Ohio State turned that crock pot on like low and slow. And it was like 3.5, 4 hours of just, all right, when this timer goes off, the game's going to be over, we're going to be ahead by a lot, you're going to enjoy a nice ride home. Just like a crock pot, that timer goes off after 4 hours, you're going to enjoy a nice meal. Like, that's what it felt like. It was low, it was slow, there was nothing like too crazy down the field, and you go home with a 34-10 win.
Except for a beautiful deep ball from Julian Sain to Jeremiah Smith, which the whole situation and play of it was just kind of crazy. One of the better throws and plays that Julian Sain's had all year. I mean, that's a Heisman level quarterback, or maybe the Heisman level quarterback is the one that had to take 4 quarters to beat Penn State in State College.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? We're not to say, but we are to say. I want to say that Edric Houston, I thought, played a heck of a game. That first drive, I think the field goal drive, they brought Malachi Singleton in, Purdue did, to try and get that quarterback draw on 4th down. Or in 3rd down, Edric Houston right away puts a 3 up to tell the whole defense, hey, 3's in, knifes through the backfield, makes a stop. And that was kind of just when Ohio State needed to make a play, they kind of just got it done. And whether it was 3rd down, 4th down, they didn't really care whether they weren't trying to go for the throw early. They just kind of, like you said, worked their way through, put it on low, and just let it cook. And they ended up coming out with a 30-point win, or a 20-something point win. Sorry.
Yeah, it was nice. The Buckeyes don't cover in this game,
so no.
I guess that last touchdown for Purdue, important for some. But overall, I thought this was just, again...
Not us, folks. We don't bet on Ohio State.
And Ryan Day said it in the postgame. It was workmanlike. He called this team edgy. I did feel like the defense came out with an edge, and then Purdue had some stuff. Like, Purdue kind of punched them in the mouth a little bit. They went tempo. They had some things throughout the first quarter that threw Ohio State off. It was more of like a feel-it-out first quarter for Matt Patricia and this Ohio State defense. And then all of a sudden, you look up and Purdue has less than 200 total yards in the entire game. So, that's the defensive side, which I would just continue to say, like, very ho-hum. And I wrote that over at lettermenrow.com in the first thoughts for lettermenrow.com. It was just a ho-hum afternoon for the Ohio State defense. Meanwhile, the offense, again, Ian Moore starts at right tackle, no Phil Daniels today. You've got tight ends galore as they're just cycling through bodies, trying to get these guys reps. Jelani Thurman has a catch. Max Clare has 5 catches. Nate Roberts has 2 catches. Ben and Christian Wilkes-Merritt do some things in the blocking game. You had all different kinds of combinations on the offensive line. The offensive performance, I don't even know what to take away from it, other than I thought Tegra Shabola, again, had some struggles. I thought Ian Moore was pretty good in his first ever real first-team action for this team. And Julian Sand, despite a few misses, which are really rare for him, was a surgeon when he needed to be, when he wanted to be, and he just guided the Buckeyes down the field. 10 catches for 137 yards and a touchdown for Jeremiah Smith. You know, just a standard day at the office, I guess.
Freshman running backs, once again, it seems like this is the first time where we've seen Isaiah West be that second guy when it comes to, hey, let's rotate in. He had some good runs. Obviously, I think there was early in the game, he had a big mistake on pass protection. I think that's fair to say.
Oh, it was bad.
He gave up a sack, but still, he had a similar thing last week. They put him back in the game this week, and he still ran hard. And then
Bo Jackson, 14 carries, 75 yards, no touchdowns. Isaiah West, 9 carries, 60 yards, and no touchdowns. James Peoples, 8 carries, 26 yards. I thought he ran hard, though. And so I think the run game took a good step forward today.
There was a lot of it, I think Ryan Day mentioned the averages for Bo Jackson and Isaiah West. There was a lot of just, it wasn't like beautiful 4-yard or 5-yard carries, but it was like, hey, we're 2nd and 5 instead of 2nd and 8. And there were still some 2nds and 8s in there. It's not perfect. Like we mentioned Tegra Shabola. I imagine Luke Montgomery had his fair share of plays where he would like to have back. Ian Moore's a first-time starter. Austin Zereveld also had a play where I don't think he was happy with it.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, that was what you would want to see from the run game. They executed a nice little minute drill here to get Jaden Fielding a 49 field goal attempt.
We'll certainly get there because I think that's huge for this team's confidence moving forward in the special teams unit to have a nice clean game here in a stadium that has seen some ugly special teams play from Ohio State in the past. I think the run game, it's hard to take a lot away because this was a duct tape offensive line, but I love the way Bo Jackson and Isaiah West ran today. They turned 3 into 5. They turned 4 into 6. I thought James Peoples ran hard, but Bo Jackson and Isaiah West just have this ability to make something out of nothing. They're making chicken salad on almost every carry. And sometimes they're going to run into the line and get a 1-yard gain. But sometimes that 1 or 2 yard gain, it's turning into 5 or 6. And there were times where Bo Jackson put his nose in between a gap and just made 7 yards happen. That's not something we've ever seen from these Ohio State running backs this year. I think for Bo Jackson and Isaiah West to show that they can kind of stick their nose in a hole and make something happen, that's a big step forward for me. And maybe the yardage isn't what we thought it was going to be or wanted it to be. I predicted they'd run for 200 yards. That obviously didn't happen today. But I still think there's a lot of positive you can take away. And then when they do get the first team offensive line back together as a starting 5, or when Josh Padilla is inserted in there for his drives, I think you're really going to see this run game take another step forward like it did today.
Yeah, and then going back to the wide receivers and the pass catchers, they kind of tested Mylan Graham and Bryson Rogers. We're going to give you guys routes over the middle. You have to hold on. Mylan Graham didn't have the one. He came back, had a one later in the game where he held on. Bryson Rogers had one in the middle of the field. It's a little bit, he didn't come out and say it the way he did in Wisconsin, but it was clearly with some of these offensive linemen out, with Carnell Tate out, which again, we don't really know what the reasoning there, felt tight or something pregame. Yeah. With some of those guys out, it was as much as you can experiment or practice or scrimmage in a Big Ten game, because it's still a Big Ten game. They tested some things out to see where they all stand and who they can trust as you march further into November and then into the postseason.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was a really good game plan. I thought it was a good way to attack this stuff. Last but not least, Jaden Fielding, 2 field goals over 40 yards. I believe one was from 45, another was from 49.
I almost nailed the bold P of 50.
He didn't get the 50-yard field goal, but that's just because of field position. The thing was going to be good from 53 or 54. He looked confident in the way he kicked it. His teammates were happy for him. I think it's a huge step forward for Ohio State. They got the ball back with a minute to go. They executed a 2-minute drill to get down in the field in a hurry-up situation. Got out of bounds at the right times. Julian Sand was precise and accurate with the football in that time. The receivers were aware. I think that's a good step forward. And then to send your kicker out there and to see one go through from almost 50 yards, it does a lot for Jaden Fielding. It does a lot for the field goal operation. And I think it does a lot for Ryan Day to say, okay, now we've seen it this year. We saw it last year. He made a couple from 40 last year. He made a 46-yard field goal in the Rose Bowl. But to go from 49 and to put that on film and to show Ryan Day, hey, if you need me, I'm good for one. I think that's a good step in the right direction. That's where we're going to get out of here. We're going to get back to Columbus. It's kind of cold here. That's Mick Walker. I'm just Spencer Holbert. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is a Rapid Reaction from Ross-Ade Stadium, where Ohio State just took down Purdue 34-10 here in the former House of Horrors. Buckeyes now 5-5 in West Lafayette since 2000. Back to 500, baby. We'll see you guys back in Columbus. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys over at LettermenRow.com.